Hey y'all, so in this video I'm going to be talking about more heavier topic, which is depression and my experience with it and how I was able to move past that. It was a crazy time, I tell you. So the reason why I'm making this video is because yesterday I saw online that this famous actor took his own life. And I mean, what a hard way to start the new year for his family. And I was just kind of thinking like, what could lead somebody to just end it all? They didn't even give life a chance to better itself. And then I quickly was reminded of how I felt when I was going through my bouts of depression. I only went through one, and boy, oh boy. Now, in hindsight, I can be grateful because now I can empathize with people that are going through that. Otherwise, I would never have known. I would have thought that depression is just being sad a lot, but it's way deeper than that. So let me just get right into it. 2018, like the summer of 2018, there we go. To give you guys some context, I was a videographer for raves, concerts, festivals, things like that. And I was also in the New Age movement, so I was really into manifesting. I did not have a relationship with God in this period. I thought that we were all gods, the universe, all that stuff. And so I was really into, I mentioned meditating, manifesting, and like breath work. That's where my head was at. It's really hard to say what was the catalyst, but it was like a group of things, if you will. So what I can remember is that I was kind of working with this company, and so they invited me to film in at Colorado, which is kind of all the other side, the whole. It was like on the other side of the country for me. I was able to get a free ticket if I filmed there, which was really cool, and I was all for it because that was my passion at the time. I loved EDM music and I loved to film and edit, so it's just like a perfect thing. So all I had to do was pay for my plane ticket, and yeah, pretty much just arrive, film, and party. That was the gig. So now looking back, I can say that going there really kind of was the catalyst. Now that I'm going through it, so the people that I went with the it was like the promoter and his crew, and those people. Not to bash them, but they weren't really. I don't really think they had my best intention in mind. Granted, there was a lot of drug use, so I mean, that pretty much says it all. When you're in that heavy drug use, it's hard to kind of look out for someone else. When I was out there, I was to myself a lot most of the time. It was a really big festival, so it was kind of hard to kind of stick with your friends the whole time, but also I was kind of working, so I was to myself a lot. However, I think like the second day or something, I was with the crew, whatever, and they were just like, you know what, come hang out, like take off your videographer lanyard, like just come with us. I don't know, like when she took off the lanyard off of my neck and kind of threw it in the tent and was just like, just come hang out with us. I felt like something bad's about to happen. It was weird. On the outside, it could be like, oh, they're just trying to hang out with you, but it was like she was trying to take something from me. It was like spiritual, okay, not on the physical. So then we went, and they had this drug, ketamine. Basically, how she described it was like it's just nose beer. So it's like a powder. And basically, they were kind of, I'm not going to say pressuring me, but I did feel kind of some type of way. So I did it. And it was just an aside about that is when I first started hanging out with these people and like videoing for them, I low key kind of judge people that did this because this is like horse slash cat tranquilizer, and it makes you feel really weird and stuff like that. And so I would judge these people because a lot of them were like really hardcore addicted, and I was like, how can they do this? And then here I am, a few short weeks, months later, doing the same thing. But because I was not used to it, I did way too much. Granted, it was like it didn't really seem like a lot, but since I had never done it before, I'd done like once before, it hit me hard. Like I just felt like I had to throw up. My stomach was like hurting so bad. And imagine, it's like in the middle of a festival. So, I felt like I was annoying them really bad because they kind of had to take care of me. And so, also because of this, they kind of, I've got a little bit, because I don't want to bash anyone, guys. Looking back, like I have no ill will towards these people, but I did feel kind of pushed onto this guy that liked me, but I don't like him back. And I felt like because I really was in that vulnerable, drugged up state, I really couldn't defend myself and be like, no, I don't want to go with this guy. But lo and behold, they kind of pushed me into his tent with him. And by the grace of God, he respected me and he didn't go there with me. We just slept. But still, I felt very uncomfortable. Continuing on in the festival, I was kind of doing my thing. And a couple of times, I felt like regret started to set in. there was a couple, like for example, there was this one band that this was their last time of them performing live, and I kind of had it set out in my mind that I was going to go see them, and I got distracted filming this other set on the other side of the festival, and I missed them. And I was just seeing people come out of that set be like, "Oh my gosh, it was the best thing ever." I felt bad. I was like, "Oh my goodness, how did I miss this?" Because it's not like, I'm working for myself, so I can go wherever. So that's like the first thing of regret. Also, I felt regretful because I talked to this one DJ that I really liked, and I was able to talk to him and everything. But I felt bad because I didn't ask to stay connected. I didn't ask for his contact information because I had some video clips of him. And so I felt bad because I missed my chance. It's so crazy because I really was convinced that an opportunity like that would never come across my life again. And so little things like this that were happening in this festival were doing something. I didn't even know it, right? And fast forward a little bit, and I started talking to this guy. He's kind of really deep in the rave scene, and I really liked him at this time, but I felt like for some reason we couldn't like connect. We really had nothing to talk about, and this had never happened to me before. I would say I'm a pretty social person, but with him, like at first it was okay, but then we went on like a 2-hour road trip, and on the way back it was just crickets. I resulted to like, so what's your favorite movie? So embarrassing. I really had nothing to talk about with him. Like I did not feel a connection, but even though I didn't feel a connection, I wanted it to work really bad because I wanted the benefits that came with being with him. And so, but I didn't know that at the time. I just thought that I really, really genuinely liked him. I tried to force it a few times, but it ended up kind of pushing him away even more. And, overall, I started to feel really alone. Like the friend group, I felt like they were being weird toward me. And so, the whole festival things, the whole regrets, the whole not being able to make it work with this guy. And this is just the weirdest thing because it's like hindsight, it's like not a big deal. Like they're just people, right? It's just like find a new group of friends. But for some reason, like all that cultivated. Oh, I guess also the drugs would played a huge part because it's very spiritual. I guess the drugs and also like the meditation, all that culminated in like a really deep depression. All that stuff, little, went deeper, 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 deeper. And the next thing you know, I wake up and I'm like there. And so I really want to explain to how it feels like for people that have never experienced depression because this is something that I'll never forget. And if I didn't experience it, I would never know how real it got. So the first thing that I really started to notice when I was like, whoa, okay, this is different, weird, was that I started to have social anxiety, but like hard. It got so bad that I would be so scared to talk to people, and which was so different for me. I never had a problem with it, right? But I was so scared to talk to people because I would always be like, what if I run out of things to say and there's just like an awkward silence? I was like really scared of awkward silences, which made me overthink and get in my head a lot, which in turn made the awkward silences even more. So that was just horrible. And then it was so bad that I was scared to even talk to my family because I would be like, I don't know what to say, which is crazy. It's crazy. It never happened to me. So that's when I knew something was different. And then that brought along how am I going to be able to work and support myself? Because my grand dream at the time was to be a DJ. I wanted to transition from being like a rave videographer to being like a rave EDM DJ. And I was like, these people like party all the time and like are constantly talking to people, are social and in that whole scene. So I'm like, if I can't talk to people, how am I ever going to be able to live out my dream or even hold a job, interview for like a career or something like that? How am I going to be able to live? So that really, oh my gosh, that took me to a dark place, you guys. Like it really, really did because that's what kind of took my hope away. And when you lose hope, man, that's just like a breeding ground for depression. Also, I remember it was so hard to go to sleep because all these thoughts were in my head that I couldn't shut off. So it was just like I really did not want to, like I wanted to be asleep, but the going to sleep, just laying down in bed before you like pass out was the worst. Also in the morning, not wanting to open, like being awake but not wanting to open my eyes because I just did not want to. I did not want to go through the day ahead. I just wanted to just be asleep all the time. Um, and it's so interesting because I'm very type A, so I would have my agenda and I would always check off the days after they went by. But like for this whole period in time, I did not touch my agenda. So it's so funny. You can see like before and after, like all check marks, but this period of time, it's like nothing. It's like blank. So it's like such a funny representation of like that depression era. During this time when I'm like in the depth of this thing, one of my friends actually, he's a promoter and he invited me to a festival that was more local, right? So I didn't have to like buy plane tickets or anything like that. He invited me to kind of film his stage that he was organizing or whatever. So I mean, any other time I'd be like, yes, like this is a very popular festival in my area, of course. But this time I was just like second guessing. I was like, how am I going to do this? Like I can't even talk to people. And in these festivals, people are like, they're drunk, they're happy, they're socializing. And I felt like I just couldn't do that. I was just over here, this awkward blob. That's what I felt like. And it's like, how am I going to do this weekend? It's like 3 days of constant socialization. That was like a really big fear of mine, which was insane because 2 festivals ago, I was on top of my game, talking to people, making so many new friends, and it's just crazy how things change. I decided to go. I was like, let me get out of my comfort zone, and maybe this is what I'll need to kind of get out of this fog I'm in. So I went, and I kind of wish I hadn't gone because it really didn't help. Because I felt how I felt. I felt like I was kind of projecting that or emanating that on other people. No matter how much I faked it, the awkwardness they would always feel it on the other end, which is insane. I would force myself to kind of go film, right? And then when I'm not filming, I would just like find a corner in the festival and just sit there for hours. And it's so funny because everybody would, do their thing and I'm just like sitting there for hours. And the promoter, he would kind of look at me sometimes. He never said anything, but I know he kind of thought about it. He was kind of like, is she okay? I was not okay. I was not okay. So I had come to the festival by myself, and so I had my little tent and everything. I was kind of on the bottom of the hill, right? But I had become really good friends with this guy and his girlfriend. So they invited me to like the top of the hill where they were at. So I was able to stay with them and everything, which is really nice. I didn't feel so alone then. So I guess I was kind of adopted with them. And so this just interesting thing happened where we were with this other group. We didn't really know them too well, but we were with this other group in their tent, and this guy, drugged out of his mind, he like kind of pinpointed me. He was like, why are you here sitting here like you belong? I didn't defend myself. I didn't say anything because like I said, I'm scared to talk to people. I couldn't, I didn't have a quick wit to like say something back to him and be like, what are you talking about? Like, who are you talking to? Type of thing. I just kind of took the disrespect and was silent, and no one else kind of said anything. And so that just kind of I just remember that because it was like, I wonder it's because in a spiritual level, he might have felt that I was feeling so low about myself. So he kind of wanted to take that chance to kind of prop himself up. But like just thinking if that would have happened now, oh, he would not have gotten away with it. I would have said something to him for sure. But that's just kind of something that stood out. I remember laying in the grass with my friend and I remember telling him, like, I just feel so awkward. I just feel so awkward. I don't know what to do. But I feel like he just couldn't understand what I meant. Just couldn't understand, no matter how much I tried to explain. I feel like unless you went through it, you don't know. Also, to add salt to the wound, in my previous video, I mentioned how I was jealous of this girl that was from my town or whatever. And so she just comes up to our campsite randomly, like, who would have thought, right? Like, she didn't know I was there. I didn't know she was there. She just randomly came up and was like looking for some food or something. And then she was all like, yeah, like, I met this famous DJ. He's really cool, like calling him by his real name and everything, trying to trying to say how they were friends now. And of course, that made me feel even worse about myself because I'm over here like, you know, I can't even talk to people, and she's over here making friends with these really amazing DJs that I really enjoy their music. So if you can imagine, that really made me feel horrible, even more. It was bad, y'all. So I got through that time, and then we went to my home country to visit family. And I was still going through this, and I was trying to explain kind of what I was going through. Nobody really understood me. And I remember hearing something about like the world ending. I don't even remember. It was some dumb. And I remember just thinking, like, good. I really wouldn't mind this, because I would never end like end it for myself, but like if something happened to me where I wasn't here anymore, I would be indifferent about it. But I would never do it because of my family. I remember thinking like I can't do that to my family. I can't. If I were not here anymore, like I'd be more than okay with that. I don't know, that was bad, but I remember reading a few books that I thought would help me. I read the book Fear and also it was like the Four Agreements, I think. And they did not make me feel better at all. And my coworkers definitely sensed that I just had like a dark presence about me. And so eventually, because this was like in a span of like maybe 3 months, I remember because of the agenda where it was like 3 months blink, right? And so what I started to do, remember I mentioned that I wanted to be a DJ? Well, I also wanted to produce music, like EDM music at this time. And so I started to learn about that. I started to kind of watch YouTube videos about it and start to just get in the weeds of that. And lo and behold, slowly but surely, my hope started to come back, which I feel like for all those 3 months, I had no hope. I could not see the light at the end of the tunnel. I could not see my life getting better. I feel like that's why I was so okay with not being alive anymore, because I did not see, like, I could not imagine how my life could ever get better, because I just felt so empty. I felt so heavy, like no light, like no excitement about anything. Because it's like people get excited to, you know, see their family, their friends, have fun, but like I felt like that was taken away from me because I couldn't socialize. I couldn't talk to people like a normal person. But slowly, when I started to study this music production, it's very kind of technical, so that really um, distracted me from like my pain and sorrows. But I was actually kind of understanding it because I found like really good teachers that kind of broke it down. And so that gave me a little bit of hope. Like maybe if I can learn how to do this, maybe I can better my life in ways. So I just kept, trying to learn music production, and slowly, but surely, I started to feel a little bit more comfortable with talking to people, talking with my peers. And that is how I was able to escape the grasp of depression. And of course, I know it was God that used the music production to pull me out, because at this point I did not have a relationship with God at all. And I feel like that really prolonged the whole process because I didn't know Jesus. I didn't know the hope. I didn't have my hope based on Him. I guess I had my hope on like external factors. And like when that was taken away, I felt like I was nothing. So I guess my advice, if you're going through depression or something like that, of course, as a Christian, I'm going to tell you to get in your Bible and start forging a relationship with God, because that faith, that hope that comes from your creator, nobody can take that away from you. If you put your hope in something external, like for example, I was putting my hope in like music production and stuff like that, guess what? Now where I am in my life, I have no interest in that. So if I would have kept my hope in like music production and eventually I would lose interest in that, I mean, there's no saying where I could have gone. I could have got depressed again, because it's like, okay, now what? If you are not a believer, of course, I'm going to naturally say to have an open mind when it comes to the Lord. But if you really are closed off to it, I would suggest to find something that you can learn, something that will occupy your mind from your struggles, because you don't want to ponder. The worst thing you can do is sit there and entertain entertain the intrusive thoughts, because those thoughts are intrusive and they're never ending, the cycle. So you've got to break that loop and focus on something else. Force yourself to focus on something else positive, whether it be a hobby, a sport, just to kind of get you out of that place. Use it to like pull yourself out. Those things might help you temporarily, but eventually you might get bored of that and you're going to be like, what's next? What's next? The only thing that will not leave you, that you will not get bored of, is having a relationship with God through Jesus. If you don't agree with that, that's okay, but that's literally what got me out of a really dark place, and now I feel like myself again. A year after this whole ordeal, my parents went through a divorce, very, very nasty divorce. Oh my goodness. And so, yeah, we lost the house, all of my friends, a lot of family. And so it was definitely the hardest time of my life physically on the outside. But yet, I was not depressed. Not like that, which is ironic because you would think, you know what I mean? I was used to having this comfortable life and now everything turns upside down. But that's because I was starting to open up my heart to God, because I had gotten away from Him. I was into the new age and that led me nowhere good. And so, very prideful. I was very, very prideful in that time. But whenever this whole thing happened with like my family and stuff like that, I had already, even though I was still the new age stuff, my heart was softened. Thank God for that. My heart was softened. I was opening up to God, and I feel like He really kept me. And so He really kept my hope up, because the one thing that helped me was knowing that God can change things in a second. So that's hope right there. That's hope. So I feel like that's why I did not get sucked into depression during this time, even though it was so easy to, so easy to. Really quick, y'all, I want to mention sometimes I can see influencers and people that are pretty popular online and even famous people that go through really, really hard things. Like, for example, this vegan girl that made her whole persona being vegan, like everything, made all her money doing this, right? And then someone posted a video of her eating meat, and overnight her whole fan base turned on her. Like, imagine her livelihood because she made money off of this vegan thing, and she wasn't even, she got caught being like eating meat and everything. And I can imagine someone going through that situation wanting to just like, not seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. By the grace of God, I'm so happy she held on and she stayed put, stayed on this earth, and continued to do what she loved. And guess what? Now she's so far past that she's able to come online and talk about it, and people don't even remember, because there's always new news coming out. But I'm just like, thank God that she didn't do anything drastic. And now, I mean, looking at her page, I see that her life is beautiful. I mean, from what I can see, and she has a husband, beautiful house, kids, and it's like, none of that would have happened if she would have done something drastic. So it doesn't matter how bad it seems, it will get better. Don't trust me, trust God, trust the process. It will. All right. In my next video, I'm going to be talking about why I'm not doing hustle culture. I know there's a couple ways that you can make money here and there, but I'm not doing it. I'm going to be talking about what I'm going to do instead that I think is going to be really good long term. So stay tuned for that. Thank you guys so much for watching. God bless. Till next time.